Welcome to WO50, Women Over 50 Embody Wisdom and Wellness.
Hello, everybody. My name is Corrine, and I'm here with my BFF, Eddi. And today our topic is emotional detox, the balance of venting with your friends and moving on.
Yeah.
What does that even mean? Venting with your friends and then moving on. And what does emotional detox mean? This and more we talk about. We do unpack this, don't we, Ed?
We do. There was a lot. We talked about a lot. Just don't throw up on each other. That's it.
Exactly.
Don't do that. That's the basic, what you'll get out of it. And just being like, Buddha and letting that shit go.
Yeah. If somebody emotionally vomits on you, knowing what, and so, but if we all are, do it in a healthy way, then life is much better. So this was really fun, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Like it's really important. This is really a passion of mine to talk about, and I think it is for you too, Ed, because relationship and emotional well-being is so important to all of us. Should be anyway. Yeah.
And we've moved through a lot of this in our lives, and hopefully you get a little something out of it. It's a good chat.
Hello, BFF. It's so funny. Sometimes I wait for you to say hello and then you're not saying it. And then I say it or then you were waiting for me. And then we both, anyways, that was one where we both said it at the same time.
It's great. We sounded like little birds chirping.
Yeah, that's how our voices are.
Yeah. And that's how we're going to be today. Cause we know like we're always venting.
Well, I would say we have a very good balance between venting and moving on to things. So that's what our topic is today. We might as well just jump right in. Emotional detox. And I think you've used the term before too, is cleaning out the wastebasket of your emotions. Because, even though we talk about being present all the time and we talk about not taking things personally, but there is a balance. Like we don't want to just jump to all of that sometimes we need to feel it to heal it. If something digs deep and we're bothered, we don't want to create more stories, and we'll talk about the balance of that today.
Yeah we don't want to create a big 800-page novel.
Exactly.
It's and as we get older too, it's like that story doesn't even apply anymore. It's like we learn all these tools and techniques, but when we start feeling like the bucket's getting full, it's time to empty it. That's why the emotional detox, we do body detoxes, hopefully, which is important to do, which we've talked about in the past, but an emotional detox is just as important.
Yeah. So having good girlfriends or a therapist or a sister, to that you can talk through things with. And even if it's something super emotional, if you're going through something at work that's really intense, or a divorce, or a challenge with your spouse, or a challenge with your best friend, sometimes you do need to sort of be unenlightened for a while and just like, she's such a biatch and I just can't believe that. And that's okay. Like you just do need to get it out. As long as you're not repeating that over and over again, because then that gets stuck in your head. And like Eddi said, creating a book. So how do you know when you need to emotionally detox, and how do you know when you're creating a book?
Yeah. And also, how do you know when to emotionally detox? Because a lot of times we react, and when we think we're emotionally detoxing, we're reacting.
That's right.
And a lot of times it's anger. We're not feeling balanced. We're not in our clear mind. We're in rage. We're in high cortisol level. We're reacting to something that happened earlier, and we're displacing it onto our friend. Like there's so many moving parts, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. And that's why we come back to, noticing what's alive and true and what's the extra story that you're adding. So one of the sort of tricks, not trick, but the techniques that I use is, what do you know for sure? Like if you ask yourself in a situation, say, your husband's acting like an asshole and he's just said some really awful things to you, and it's been going on for a month or so, something like that. He's just going through what Eddi would call maybe andropause, right? Where they go through
male
male
menopause.
and andropause,
Yep,
male.
andropause.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's being
And
a bitch.
so yeah, he's being a dick. And so, you know, the story in your head, like you might be resenting it, you might be resentful. And this could be like if you don't have a husband, or it could be with a friend, it could be with your mother, with anybody, right? So somebody at work. So you start resenting it, and then you um, talk about it with your friend that you don't like that person, or you jump ahead. So what we tend to do is jump ahead of how to fix that solution. So you might jump ahead and think, I'm going to divorce his ass. Like, I don't want to be married to him, right? 0 to 100 right away, to make you feel better because it's too painful to sit in the sadness that you're not connecting right now. Or you might think in the past, oh, they used to be so amazing. Like, what happened to that? So that's when you know you need an emotional detox. Because if you don't, or no, so what I was saying is, how do you know what's alive and true? So you ask yourself, what do I know for sure? Okay, what do I know for sure right now in that situation is he's been saying things that have been not true, that have been unkind. That's really it. That's all I know for sure. And it's
Mhm.
been going on for a month.
Mhm.
Has he changed? I don't know. This is still only going on a month. What did our minds say? Do we need to do a divorce? You don't know. You're not there yet. That's something you could maybe vent to your friend, and you can, get it out. And then it's like, no, come back to what do you know for sure?
Mhm.
And that's how you know if you're being present with something and if you need to feel it. And if you're, as Eddi was saying, if you're being reactive in situations, or a small argument turns into a bigger one, that's when you need to emotionally detox.
Yeah, because we've gone into future with it. We've gone into experiencing it like it's happened, but it hasn't happened. Like it's when you say, "Oh, I got a divorce," or "I need to move out," or "I need to leave," or and you go, "Okay, no, what do you need to do in this moment?" Like this
Yeah.
is why when we bring back everything to the present moment, it takes the heat off the burner for a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Because if we go with that thought of, well, that's it, it's done, it's over, and we've all done it. Like
Yeah.
we've all
Oh, yeah.
that's the thing,
Your
right?
mind
And
goes
then
there right away.
yeah, and if
Can,
you're
can.
not able to vent it with your therapist or with a friend that they're not going to come back to you and they're actually going to just listen. They're the friend that goes, "Oh yeah, oh how you feeling? Tell me how you're doing." Like they're listening. They're not going to put their 2 cents in going, "Yeah, leave his ass. You need to be out of there." They might want to say it, but that's not their decision to make,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah,
they might be
exactly.
right and they might be wrong. We don't know. But they take you back into your present moment. They're the friends and that's what happens, I think, as we get older. We know those friends or therapists that we can run up to and go, okay, I need to vent this. Right.
Yeah.
And, and then it's like, oh, and then it softens and we start dumping the reasons why. And you start dumping the wastebasket. Okay. Okay. But we all have a wastebasket to dump. Right. And we all have points of views and when we can jump kind of onto the other point of view for just a minute, it takes us away from ourselves for a minute, and then we can soften even again and go, well, maybe they're having a really hard day and maybe this isn't the day to do the divorce papers, maybe we
All I know
start,
for sure, yeah, exactly. All I know for sure is I'm upset.
yeah, I'm upset, and
Yeah.
be okay with just sitting in the upset of it. Like I'm upset and I just ate half a bag of Halloween chocolate bars, right? I mean, I've had patients walk in and go, "Oh my God, I just bought like, the 40 bag bar for Halloween and I ate all of them on the drive here." I'm like, "How long was your drive?" "Well, it was 2 hours." I'm like, "Well, you've digested maybe two out of the 40, but let's not, you know, let's not sit with that and how bad that's making you feel. Let's sit down. We're going to dump that wastebasket now." we we do the same thing with the emotions because if we stay with the story, that's the beautiful gift we have within ourselves. We can build upon it. We can create, oh my gosh, a drama. It could be a series.
Oh, yeah, big series. If you start saying, well, because your mind goes to all the times that he did this before, but this is this situation. Like you want to try to keep to this situation because that's how you have the same argument over and over with somebody is when you keep bringing the past in the present. I remember when Sachi and I first got married, And I think that we didn't argue very much. We had a small argument. He's like, I thought we talked about that last week. Like, I thought we were done. Are we not done with that? Because if we're not done with that, we'll go back and that's a different conversation. And that's why we didn't really argue much because we would always finish, we'd complete it and we wouldn't bring it into the next moment.
Yeah.
Because there's always going to be, don't worry, there's going to be stuff to move through. You don't have to bring the past into it. But what happens when you keep bringing past into it, then resentments happen. And that's when you can't feel like you can't move forward and you're stuck. So if you keep having
Yeah.
in the same argument over and over again with anybody, it's because you've gotten way off topic. You're bringing a Santa bag full of emotions into and then you're not trusting the person because you like they're bringing stuff. It's a whole layering effect.
Yeah. And it can be something really simple that we build upon. Like it could be, something that could have been thrown in the garbage and recycled and done, right?
Yeah.
Used up and gone.
Yeah.
And it's like we even had a little chat, about there was something we were discussing and I sat with it for a few days and then I talked to you and said, this the thought of doing this stresses me out a bit and I'm just feeling blah, 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 blah. And you're like, okay, well, then we'll find something else. Right.
Yeah.
And I could have taken that and went, what does she think I am? Like what, oh my God. Like, and this is what a lot of us do.
Yeah.
We just lament on and we blame or
Complain.
and sometimes it's, yeah, the blaming, naming game. And then we got to sit with it and feel it.
Yeah.
That's the beautiful thing I've learned at this point in my life now is without the story, how hard is the emotion? How hard, is it a direct hit? Is it
Mm.
something I'm mulling and stewing? Is it real? Can it be moved through? Is that all that's left in it? Like just
Hmm.
feeling it and letting it move through and then you might have to give it a day. You might have to take a walk in nature. There's no major decisions have to be made in the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. And some people want to walk away from it and not talk about it all, and other people want to do it right then and there. It's like there's a
Yes.
balance of both, right? We have to honor people, what their process is. And yet, the longer it takes to talk to somebody about something, the bigger the story is created, especially if you start talking to other people about it. It's like
Yeah.
you're creating, and we've talked about this before, but the metaphor is the chapters, right? So if you have an altercation with somebody, something you think you heard them say or something like that. And then you tell and then you tell your sister about it. That's like that's two things now already. So the first thing is one piece of paper. The first thing that you're upset about is one piece of paper, and that's easy to throw away and burn and rip up. Then you tell your sister about it. That's two pieces of paper. Then you tell your mother about it. Then you tell five friends about it. And then all of a sudden you got a whole chapter and
Mhm.
then you've got a whole book. So we've got these books that we create, and the longer it takes to talk to somebody about something that's bothering us, the more of a book it is, and the harder it is. It's like gets solid in you, and that's why communication seems like it's so hard because we've created it by talking about it and made it so much bigger than it needed to be.
Yeah. And every person that you told the story to, every sheet of paper, they have their own story attached to it.
Yep.
So it's like it
Oh yeah.
grows wings and tails. And before you know it, the little mouse that came through the house is an elephant that, destroyed the neighborhood, and
Yeah.
it's so big and it could have been resolved so quickly.
Yeah.
So it's like really intention or especially when it's our friends and it's our close peeps that we dearly
Hmm.
love or we've had a lifetime with or we have a major connection with, no
Yeah.
matter if it's family, friends, business person, new associates, whatever. It's what is it in the moment, because every one of these things that we have an action with in our lives is more waste into the bucket.
Yeah.
So the quicker we process this, it's almost like what comes into my head is like a carburetor, right? You
Mhm.
got, leftover stem of the broccoli, just put it through the carburetor, it's gone.
Okay, you know that Americans don't know what a carburetor is, right? It's so
Oh,
weird. I call it a carburetor,
what?
and people in Nashville, what are you saying? What word is that? It's a
What?
garbage disposal.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
See, it's a
You didn't.
garbage eater, a
Uh-huh.
garburator.
There you
Oh,
go.
I didn't
Garbage
know
eater.
that.
Yeah.
Wow, I learned
They have
something new
no
every
idea.
day.
I ask Americans all the time,
Ah,
do you know what a carburetor is? No idea. I'm like, really?
wow. Wow, thank you for venting that. That's great.
Yeah.
Glad to know.
Yeah, so that's a good like the cookie monster, right? And that's what Alea says too, leaving the cookies, don't leave any crumbs. So when you're not when you're holding on to a story, that's like a cookie, and then you're eating the cake or you're making a giant cookie, but then okay, so then the event, but then you leave a little crumb. So that's when you're asking yourself, what do I know for sure? But then you're still like still maybe jumping to the future, jumping to the past, and you're bringing these things into the moment, into the situation. And because
Mhm,
we've done this for so long, and I feel like, I mean, honestly, it's you see it because of the microcosm and the macrocosm, and I feel like that's why we see it in politics and on Facebook and stuff too, is because we do it in our own lives. We do it with our own family. So blown up, it's done in, all the conspiracy theories and stuff. When you magnify it, that's what happens. And
mhm.
so doing this in your own life and really being soft with yourself and learning about how to communicate. Wish, you listen to our podcast, you can listen to Brene Brown. There's so many people. There's a book called Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg that teaches good techniques. Like that's what when I first started doing life coaching, that was the main thing I started in coaching was teaching people emotional maturity and emotional well-being.
Yeah.
And it
Just,
really
yeah.
is all these stories like we believe what we think. And I know we say that in every podcast because it's so true. It is such a problem in society that we believe our opinions about things. An opinion is just an opinion, it is not
Mhm,
truth.
mhm. That's right. Just because you read it doesn't mean it's true.
Yeah.
There's so
Yeah.
much out there and people read it and they go, "Oh, I read that and that's terrible."
Yeah.
Now their opinion about that person is tainted
Yep.
or,
And then they'll
you
tell their
know,
friend about it. And then and this is how our world operates is why we're in such a mess. Even the environment, like I feel like we're all like this, we're all connected. The food, from the planet we eat, whether it's an animal or a plant, it's
mhm.
all recycled. And so that comes out in the environment, even though, yeah, you can see steps that humans have made that have caused everything in the environment to be going on. But that's all a reflection of the unrest we have individually,
Yeah.
so this is a topic that's really close to my heart and really important. And the reason I started meditating so many years ago and why I love to teach this with people, because if you can start to get this right and to go come really close with your stories about things and be soft with yourself and to have a good friend to talk about these things with and to learn how, because it's not something, it is very natural once you learn how to do it, but it doesn't seem natural because we've been the other way for so many years.
Mhm,
We have
mhm.
those 85,000 thoughts in a day, and we have those fears and the judgments and the stories and the way things we should be, this should be this way. And, all you got to do is travel to a couple of countries, and the way things should be are different in every single country
Absolutely. And you can create your own country within yourself.
within your own head. Exactly.
Yeah, within your own head, within your yeah, and it's funny, isn't it? Like when you're with family and you're talking about stuff and they expect you to react a certain way and you don't. And it's
Right.
not till we're older that we say, let that go. Don't you don't need to bring that up anymore.
Yeah.
What are you apologizing for? Like that I don't even remember any of this. Like what? And they, often until you almost give permission or you just go, stop. Stop that. You don't need to be doing this. But as we get older and when we have those beautiful, close relationships, we have to dump those waste baskets. And
Hmm.
with family history, with stuff people hold on to, we got to do a lot of inventory here, like a
Hmm.
lot of self evaluation and self inquiry, which is beautiful. Leah talks about it. You talk about it. I talk about it. And what is it? It's that deep dive into yourself, that look into your inner being, into your, even what you're saying. Even ask yourself that is
Hmm.
that true what I just said? How I
Hmm.
responded to my sister, my brother, my mother, my father, my coworker, my friend. Right? We start going, and how does that feel when we're real selves, like to say, no, I don't like how that was how I said this, or we find a way to word it in our own language to the
Mm-hmm.
person. And
Mm-hmm.
then it starts to soften because now we're having really authentic garbage buckets are emptied.
Mm-hmm.
We're real, right? There's no
Mm-hmm.
pushing buttons and triggering people because of how we're wording things.
Mm-hmm.
We're just being ourselves with our own faces and the looks we have on our
Mm-hmm.
faces and our personalities, like we talked about on one of our podcasts,
Mm-hmm.
ego and personality and what comes into play. But with the all the emotional stuff we start to pile up, we reach a point where we go, that's enough. That's enough. The bucket's got to be emptied.
Yeah,
I gotta
absolutely.
do this every day or every week, or how often are we going to check in? And
Mm-hmm.
what's beautiful with meditation, what I've learned through you with meditation is it helps me empty the bucket really
Mm-hmm.
quickly,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
And why
More
is
and
that?
more.
Why is that?
Yeah, because the first thing we sit down when we sit down to, to meditate, the first thing we notice is that, oh, we have thoughts and we have a lot of thoughts and they're all over the place. Well, who's having the thoughts? Like there's a screen of consciousness that your thoughts are aware of what's going across the screen. And so you get to decide. So there's a lot of Eddies inside Eddie's head. There's a lot of Corinne's inside my head and a lot of your voice inside your head, but voices, but there's only one choice maker in each of us. We don't, but until we become aware of that, we don't believe. So that's why we believe every random shit that comes into our head is because we don't know any difference. But there's only one, a real you. There's a lot of thoughts, don't get me wrong,
Mhm.
everybody has a lot of thoughts, even sometimes 10 at the same time, but you get to decide what you want to believe in and what you decide to focus on. And that's the main thing that you notice when you start to meditate, how crazy your head is. And you
Mhm.
start to get more intimate with the awareness part, the choice maker, the oneness in you. And then and that's why we meditate. We don't meditate to go silent, even though that happens once in a while, but not very often. We meditate to know ourselves better.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. There's a lot of beautiful, beautiful things to do and think and not think to get that the emotional detox happening. And people think like a detox is a like a you got to vomit and you got to have
No.
diarrhea and you got to
Yeah. So you
right.
can emotionally vent what you're talking about, vomit to a friend if you're not blaming them, if you're just venting, right? You can have that moment because your head's doing it anyway. So if you've got a good
Yes.
enough friend that knows that most of it isn't going to be truth, you're just like going off because it's going to make you need to, you're emptying the garbage, you're venting, right? You're
Yep.
definitely venting. That's, one time you're allowed to do that per situation. That's it. Because any more than that, you'll start to believe it. And
Yeah.
so you can vent, vomit, because I've said before, it's like I've had people that have emotionally vomited all over somebody and it's like they're taking their own shit out. They haven't cleaned out their basement and they're taking their issues and they're projecting it all on the person. And so, that happens every day, all day to everybody. I mean, everybody, because
Mhm.
everybody's living in their head so much, right? And that, again, to me, is a reflection of why the world is such a mess, right? So it starts at home. Now, just because you do the emotional detox and you're doing the work doesn't mean the people around you are going to be doing it. And that's the first thing that people start to notice. Well, but they're not doing it. And that's a little bit ego to say that. It's like, because people do, it's a natural law. People do shift and change when you change. Like in science, it only takes one thing to change the other thing, right? So there's two things that are
Yeah.
the same. As soon as this thing changes, it changes this's relationship to it. So no longer is it like this, it's like this, right? So and if you're not on video, I'm like using my fingers to give a little scientific instruction. It's like it's once, if there's two things and one thing changes, it affects the relationship of both. It's a natural law. So if you shift and change, it will affect all of your relationships. And so that's the only thing we can control is our own selves. And
Okay.
so you're doing the work, emotional detox for you so that you don't emotionally vomit in an inappropriate time that causes
Mhm.
more problems in your life. Or if you do, you notice it more quickly and you apologize.
Yeah. And there's also the other way where people don't want to vent. They hold it inside. They just, they're like, oh, I don't need to share this. This is like, they're not going to understand. They're not going to believe it. They're not going to, I'll get over it. I'll deal with this in my own way. And we do that inner dialogue ourselves. And it's not fair to do that to them. And, they're such a good friend and it'll change our relationship if I tell them that. And, it's this whole dialogue going on. And then you go, nope, that's not good either because you're still, yeah, you're still having that you're keeping all the garbage in.
Yeah, you're keeping all the garbage and you're stuffing it down. And then that's people who sort of think like that. They're the people pleasers. They usually emotionally eat as well because they're
Hmm.
stuffing down their feelings and so they stuff down their food as well and just keeps
Yeah,
piling on top of each other. And
yeah.
there was a girl here for meditation the other day that thought she was happening to her. She was just she's really having a tough time in her life and can't get out of the hole of it, right? And so
Hmm.
she ends up emotionally vomiting. She came to meditation and emotionally vomited on all of us, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
And because she's not feeling, she's stuffing it. And she said, I emotionally eat all the time with everything. And we're like, you've got to feel your feelings. And that sounds
yeah.
really scary. And so that's when a therapist, like we can only deal with one thing at once. So if you've got
That's right.
25 things going on in your life, let's just pick one
Yes.
and
And I
also
remember
stay present.
feeling like, and yeah,
Yes.
we both remember feeling that way. Like it's a long journey. And that's why, as we get older, it's such a gift to get to this place in our lives and recognize it. And that's why we talk about it and share it because when people listen in and go, I do, I don't, I'm not, I've given the first chunk of my life to raising family and people pleasing a lot of times, or work pleasing, or
Yeah.
friendship pleasing, or family pleasing, whatever it is. But we still have to do that inventory check, that check with self to go, does that, is that people, is that giving me joy anymore? Is that what I'm supposed to be doing? Is this why I'm this angry at this person? Is this where's this all coming from? And that's the conversation that when we start having that with ourselves and we're able to vent it to another friend, the other person, a therapist, somebody,
Mm-hmm.
that's dumping out that emotional chaos. That's the detox. That's the stuff that isn't helping the personal growth. This is the
Mm-hmm.
stuff that's really when we can just lighten the load and grow, right? Just
Mm-hmm.
grow from this, from the death of that ick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's like not the first thing you do. So this advice wouldn't be the advice I would give to that person that was emotionally dumping, like
Oh
necessarily
gosh.
not to start there,
No.
right? Because
No.
she needs to start somewhere else. She needs to start with presence. Because right now
Yes.
the stories are running so much in her that everything that she can't even see straight. It's like when she gets an ear to listen, she wants to tell all of the problems in her life. So she's got so much that she's stuffed down that she's wanting to vomit all the time, especially when she finds ears that can hear, that are compassionate, that will listen.
Yes.
And all she is building the stories even more and more. And
Hmm.
so, therapist learning how to feel and just starting there and being mindfulness and listening to podcasts. And, there's a lot of people in a lot of pain, and
Hmm.
there are a lot of serious issues out there and dealing with a lot of serious issues for sure. And so just starting with presence. What do I know for sure right now?
Yeah.
What do I know for sure right now in this moment?
Yeah, we can't
Not,
hurry through it. We can't
mm-mm,
push through it. We got to do it in, you know, the format that allows the healing to be taking place and is permanent. It's like, oh, this feels good and oh, I'm going to do that again. So we start
mm-hmm,
changing how our old behavior was. And that's
mm-hmm,
creating new habits. And that's, you know, going for that nature walk or doing the meditation to get back to what it is that allows you to release these
mm-hmm.
kind of relentless thoughts that aren't real.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe some of them might be, but Really,
Most of
all
them
of them?
aren't. Most of
Yeah.
them aren't, though. All we know right now, like in this
Yeah.
moment, all we know right now is I exist. We're talking on the podcast. Like that's it. And now that's
Mhm.
a pretty advanced concept
Yes.
that all we know for sure is I exist. Like that's pretty advanced, but it is truth.
Yes.
And it is very peaceful too. And then if I and then I'm able to, when I'm living that way, when Eddie's living that way, then when the things happen, we're able to meet them in the present moment from grace. And even if it's something horrible that happens, we can deal with it because we don't have 150 other things that we needed to deal with or created big things out of nothing. And that's
Yeah.
why sometimes wars, I mean, it's awful to say this, but I mean, there's a lot of studies that like there's depression sort of disintegrates during and after a war because people are so focused on surviving and helping each other and compassion and fighting when they need to or whatever it is, that all that emotional baggage that we were carrying goes out the window.
Hmm.
But you don't
Yeah.
want to have to be in a war to let go and do your emotional detox.
That's right. Your own inner war.
Yeah.
Be a
Yeah.
warrior.
Yeah.
Be the warrior. Yeah, step out of it. Let's dump the garbage. Let's
Yeah.
get back into the truth of life and don't carry around the worry or the waste or, why? Why?
Why is a
It's like,
question of pain? I say that all the time.
yeah,
And I've had this discussion with so many people over the years. But it's good to know why this happened. I'm like, once in a while, we might know why, but most of the time it's a story.
yeah, yeah,
Most of the time it's a story. If we're trying to figure out why this guy is doing this to me, you will never figure it out.
no,
And I can't tell you how many times that I was coaching this one girl a few years back, and she was trying to find a healthy relationship, and she like, why did he do this? So well, I want to know why. And every time I came back, well, how does it you because it's about how you're feeling about what he did, because you can never know why he did it. Like that's a mute point. And
hmm,
but they always want to go because they think that what they'll come up with is going to make them feel comfortable enough so that then they'll know how to feel. Like it's a whole series of things that doesn't it's not truth. You got
yeah,
to and it's hard because a lot of layers that we've lived with for a lot of years and a lot of things that we have learned wrongly. Like it is like what Addie and I are talking about. Is a very natural way to live, but it's unfortunately not how we've been raised and how society operates.
that's right. There's been a lot of conditioning over the years and
Yeah.
what we should believe and shouldn't believe and this is what the beauty of getting older is, you know, letting really I have a little sticker on my wall and it just and I look at it and it makes me laugh and it's a little Buddha sitting there and it says let that shit go.
My favorite, I got a clock on the wall that says that.
That's right. And I got a little picture over there. So, and there that's it. It sums it up. So let's let that shit go.
Yeah. Yeah. See the job, do the job, stay out of misery. And anytime you're feeling upset, what do I know for sure right now? Like for sure, what do I know for sure?
Yeah. You know for
It,
sure you're upset. Okay, then be upset.
yeah.
Just be
Can you
upset.
soften and just be that? Allow it. Don't get into the story of why I'm upset and what I'm going to do later about it. Just can I just be
Yeah.
right
And did you
here?
kick the wall? Did you put a hole in the wall? Now you got to fix the wall. Did you break the glass? Was it your favorite glass? Now you got to get a new glass. It was your favorite glass. What? So we're like, what? Yeah. Be gentle. Be gentle with
Oh,
yourself.
yes. Be
Be
gentle.
gentle.
It's
Love
always
who
good
you are.
advice.
Be kind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. People are, I guess, trying to do the best with what they know and where they are in life, I think.
Yeah, I do believe that everybody is doing the best they can from where they're coming from. And, when people are in enough pain, when they're sick and tired of being sick and tired, the shift will come.
Yeah. So
The shift will come.
let the shift come and the shit go.
Yes. And we'll end on that.
We will. Thanks for
How's
listening, guys. It's a heavy
Mhm.
one, but find a friend that you can vent to.
Yes.
And
Yes. and know the difference. Yes.
Stay kind to each other. And
Yeah.
yeah. Thanks, Kim.
Thank you. Love you.
Love you too.